Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to Coffee Talk! Ooh, my coffee's hot this morning. Can you see it steaming? Today, we're talking about life without the internet. Don't. Some of you may be watching this, and other of you may be watching this sometime in the future, or it may never get out at all because we have a nationwide serious internet, well, specifically cell phone outages across the country. Now, I'm not hearing any reports of international, just United States. Now, what caused these? Once again, this is not news. We're not spreading news here. We're just discussing what's going on in the world, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And also, we're speculating on what it might be, as we have a right to guess. So don't get all out of sorts, the Al Gore rhythm over there, because well, you may be too busy trying to get the internet restored. Don't. So in case you're just now hearing this for the first time, and I doubt it, unless your internet just started working again, sometime in the night, I think about 4 a.m. Eastern time, or some are saying as early as 1:30, and that could be a time zone issue. Not a lot of information about what caused it, but AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, and a bunch of other smaller carriers like Cricket are heavily affected by a widespread cell phone outage. It's affecting the internet, and we have several reports of major websites like Google and YouTube not functioning properly or functioning at a diminished rate. That could just be from cell phones that are not functioning properly. It's a lot of guesswork right now. There's a lot of confusion, and I just, there's a few things I find interesting that I'm not hearing of Japan or any other places like that having cell phone issues. It seems to be just America. And some of the people like BP Earthwatch, who are people who watch the sun for mass coronal ejections or solar flares, say that there were 2 solar flares overnight. The puzzling thing to them is they were more or less minor X flares, and we've had 5 already this year with no problem. And the thing is, the only thing they're thinking is that maybe there was, because there was 2 a couple hours apart through the night last night, that it may have triggered some shutdowns in the cellular system. And but I don't know. I don't know if I buy that, because we have those all the time and it doesn't do this. What's causing this massive cell phone shutdown in our systems? Apparently just in the United States. I mean, I'm guessing here. I've been listening. I've not heard of other countries, just us. And then this comes on the heels of Russia putting into space, this whole thing we've been hearing about nukes in space and about a satellite weapon in space. Well, cell phones use the cell phone tower system, but I do believe relays keep the systems linked through satellites. So, if we had lost the internet in the 2000s, it would have been no big a deal. The Carrington event that happened in the early 1900s or late 1800s, it took out all the telegraph systems. But that was no big deal. It didn't take them that long to rerun the wire and fix it all. But it did take out our telegraph systems. That's the last time we had a major CME. If that were to occur now, it would be disastrous. It would destroy the lives of many people and probably lead to several million people losing their lives because of the shutdown of the entire system and our reliance on electricity. And then, but now just losing the internet could be equal to losing the power grid in the 70s, right? Because everything is linked to the internet. They don't have to take out the electricity. All they have to do is take out the internet, and they can get almost as much damage to our system. Think about it this way. Every store's point of sale system is connected to the internet. It can't function if the internet's down. How many of you have gone to a store and tried to buy something and they went, sorry, we can't sell it to you, our internet's down? So if they took out the internet nationwide, it might make it very difficult, if not impossible, to make purchases. Also, there's the truckers that are threatening to boycott New York City, or they are currently boycotting New York City. And we all know what it would be like if the trucks stopped running. That was one of the biggest fears during COVID, is that if the truck stopped running, the stores wouldn't have anything on the shelves and everyone would starve. And so how does the internet affect trucking? Well, an EMP would take out vehicles, presumably. That's what we assume would happen. And that would destroy the ability to move goods. But an internet outage would also diminish our ability to move goods through the trucking system, because trucks, although they're not hooked to the internet necessarily, they use navigation through the internet. They use their cell phone navigation or the satellite navigation to find their way. Hardly anyone uses paper maps anymore. There's probably not enough paper maps to go around. They probably have had a huge diminished printing of paper maps since cell phone navigation has become so common. And so people couldn't even find their way from point A to point B without their cell phone these days. But also the dispatch systems that they use to coordinate the picking up and delivery of loads through trucking is all internet based now. And so if the internet goes down, it's almost as good as dropping the power grid. Not to mention that if it was a really widespread internet outage, then you might also have your power plants affected, because many of those are controlled via the internet and linked to the internet. And then there's the whole thing with these Russians. You know, I'm getting a lot of chatter on the internet about how Russia and China are making major moves to prepare for war. And they've been doing this ever since before the Ukraine war started, and all through the Ukraine war. They're building underground nuclear shelters for their people. They're doing drills. They're encouraging people to prepare for war. They're stockpiling. And so if Russia really is the bad guy that the mainstream media want to paint them out to be, and if Putin is really the madman they claim he is, if Putin potentially is the beast, then we could be getting set up for a major attack. And maybe this current internet outage is a test run. I do find it interesting that the internet has gone down just days after both sides have acknowledged that we're going to be, that they have this technology now where they can take out our satellites. And I heard one talking head on the mainstream media say, well, if they set off a nuke in space, it would take out all the satellites, theirs and ours. But I know enough about this technology and have done enough research on it to know that you could use small nuclear explosions and focus them and use proximity with a smaller charge to create EMPs that would destroy certain satellites and leave others untouched. What if this technology the Russians have developed to take out satellites, they have already used to shield their satellites from their own technology? So if their satellites are properly shielded and ours are not, they could set off those EMPs in space and cause our satellites to all go down. And everything now is linked to the satellites, even the cell phone system, which originally was independent from the satellites. But I think that that the whole internet system is bouncing off of satellites in one way or another. Could one of our satellites have been taken out? Could the Russians have attacked us with this new weapon, maybe on a limited way to test it out? If so, our government would never acknowledge it. Like, that's never going to make the news. They're never going to admit that that's what happened, if that's what happened for this massive outage. They're going to say it was these little spikes of X-rays, these sun spikes. And they would never recognize that. It would just be a matter of national security to not let it be common knowledge that we got hit. Another reason that we could lose the internet, and this is not just the power grid here. We're not talking about the power grid. We're just talking about just the internet. We could lose the internet and cell phone service and all of the things that we rely on so much in daily life in this country through hacking. And we all know, it's been common news for months, for the last couple of years, that China has an army of hackers trying to shut us down on a regular basis. Did they get lucky? Did they punch through our defenses? Is that what's caused this massive internet shutdown and cellular service issue? It's AT&T primarily, but also Verizon. I am currently hooked to the internet, no problem, but when I got up this morning, my phone wouldn't connect to 4G. It just wouldn't. And I kept turning it off and restarting it, and still no signal. And I thought, did I pay my bill? And I thought, well, I'm late on my bill, but they're not ready to shut me off yet. It's just round one of the warnings I'm getting. I'm not getting the round two or round three of warnings where I know if I don't pay the bill right now, they're going to shut it off. If you want to help me make the bills around here, you can make a donation to PayPal, Cash App. It's all there in the description. But nonetheless, yeah, it could be hacking. It could be that they hacked into our system and got lucky. Now, what would life without the internet look like? To somebody like me, my first reaction is, so what? I don't have YouTube. Now, it could hurt me as far as this channel's concerned. If we're not on the internet, I don't have a job, right? I don't have to go back to street preaching. You know what I mean? Or being a musician or something. You can't even drive DoorDash. Apparently, DoorDash has been heavily affected by this cellular phone outage. And so, you know, it would have an effect on me, but not to the degree of some people. You know, the younger generation is so addicted to this Babylonian magic mirror. I heard one YouTuber called the Babylonian magic mirror. They're so addicted to the cell phone. They're so addicted to their computers. They're so addicted to their online entertainment that they might have like mental breakdowns. It doesn't take much to trigger a millennial and younger into flying off the handle and going cuckoo. And this might be just the thing to do it. You know, it used to be when a kid misbehaved, you make them go to their room or you'd ground them from activities. And now they don't care about being grounded to their room or being grounded from activities as long as they got their Babylonian magic mirror, because that's the center focus of their life, and their social life and their friends are all through that machine. So taking away their cell phone is the equivalent of grounding a kid and making him go to his room these days. And, you know, there's videos on the internet of, you know, teenagers having their phone taken away and the massive tantrum, freak out, begging on their knees, please don't take my phone away. The combination of the addiction to the technology, the reliance our systems now have on the technology, the effect on commerce and people's jobs like mine, that just taking the internet could drive the United States into a crisis situation if you were able to completely black out the internet. And it might even cause power outages or even a complete collapse of the grid, because a lot of these power plants and grid distribution rely on internet connections to communicate with each other and to do their necessary checks and maintenances. So this could end up being a much bigger deal. We may never actually know what caused this outage, and it's not getting any better as of 11:40 today. From what I'm seeing on the internet is they're not figuring it out. AT&T says we're aware of the problem, we're working to fix it as soon as possible on their website. But that tells me they don't really know what caused it. They're trying to figure it out, and they don't know when that this outage will be fixed and access to your cell phone restored. So some of you may not be seeing this for days, if ever. This could be the beginning of a cyber war, a cyber attack. This could be the Russians testing their weapon. It could have been the twin solar flares that happened close enough together that it triggered some safety device in our satellite systems. But either way, we are vulnerable. We are vulnerable to mass coronal ejection. We are vulnerable to hacking. We are vulnerable to space wars and a space attack on our satellites. We are vulnerable to an EMP. And it's because we rely so heavily on technology, not just for our entertainment, but for our businesses, the way they run, for our employment, for so much of everyday life. We are absolutely reliant upon this technology. And the best way to silence America, to take us out of the game, is to figure out some way to shut down our internet, or the real 1-2 punch would be to take down our power grid. And the ultimate would be an EMP that not just took down our power grid, destroyed the internet and satellites, but also fried every electronic chip in every car, in every generator that's not old school. And pretty much the only thing on the road would be riding lawnmowers and tractors and maybe a few low-tech ATVs and kickstart motorcycles and vehicles made before 1980, cars and trucks, which there's getting to be less and less of those. And so this could be the beginning of this regular hacking attacks or even satellite warfare against the United States. It could just be a thing, but it's not a little thing. This has been a major cellular phone outage that's affected nearly every carrier. I was able to get my phone working this morning simply by going and hitting the airplane mode over and over and over again until it finally found a weak signal far away. So I'll be going into town today to take little Jazzy to her appointment to get weighed and measured and all that. And so I'll be in another cellular area. Let's see if I have enough cellular coverage to upload this video. I'm hoping that I get it uploaded today. If not, I just kind of wasted my time and my coffee. Coffee's never a waste, right? But taking down the internet could send us back to the horse and buggy days to some degree. Gas stations can't pump gas if they're not hooked to the internet. And there would be some small stations, if they still had electricity, that would take cash payments. But how many people actually have cash? You can't operate an ATM if the internet's down, right? Everything is wireless. If the internet goes down, it is a punch to the stomach of the United States and could cripple our economy, even make our defensive abilities lessened, because there's so much internet-based technology on the battlefield. Even in our military, there is internet-based connectivity. So cell phones have become the new walkie-talkie for a lot of our military operations. I know this is true because I've been hearing the stories coming back from the battlefield all over the world where our troops are operating and how much they communicate via cell phone. So if the Russians or the Chinese ever figure out a way to take down the internet, if any of our enemies figure out a way to take down our power grid, if the sun decides to give us a mass coronal ejection and take out everybody's internet, everybody's electricity, like a Carrington event, then it's back to the Stone Age for everybody, and tribal warfare will break out. Chaos in the streets, all of that. Dogs and cats living together in peace. Ghostbusters. Now, the thing to think about too, I heard one online speculator say that God might take out our internet communications because the way that God communicates with us is through frequencies, and all of the clutter in the airwaves in our atmosphere from the cell phones and the internet and the satellites, that all of those electromagnetic frequencies passing through the air could cloud our ability to hear God. It's an interesting theory, but personally, it doesn't line up with my experience. I feel like I'm more in tune with God now than I've ever been. I hear His voice better than I ever have. I feel the anointing better than I ever have. Now, part of that is I'm very matured as a believer. I'm very matured as a Christian that operates in these sort of things. And so, therefore, there might have been some diminishing with all of this technology and the clouding of the airwaves, but I've not felt it. And I also surround myself with people I call antennas, people who have the natural ability to hear into the spirit realm. And they've not reported any diminished difficulties. But it may be that the common person who already has diminished abilities to reach the spirit realm might be inhibited by the internet and all of the waves running through the air from the cell phones to the wireless networks. And it could be that God might take out our system so that he can speak more directly to us in these last days. That's an interesting theory. Need a lot of coffee to swallow that. Because I'm in the God can category, which means none of our technology is going to stop God. If he needs to talk to us, he's just going to talk to us. You know, I don't think you can put up any kind of force field to prevent God from talking to you. Either God's all powerful or not. So I don't really buy that theory, but it is interesting. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Was it the easily explained away double solar flare that happened overnight? Was it hacking by the Chinese, you think? You know, it's such widespread, it's such a widespread outage that you can't really just explain it away as technical failure. It hit too many systems and too completely. And so it's got to be something. What something is it? Is it the solar flares? Is it Chinese hackers? Is it the Russian super weapon in space? Don't. Only the Space Force knows. What caused the outage? And when will it be restored? If you're capable of commenting and you're watching this channel, leave a comment. Also, don't forget to support this channel. You keep the bills paid around here or not by your contributions. All the links in the description there. And we'll see you next time on Coffee Talk.